Hi, good day. My name is Wendell George, and I am the director for the Big Brother program at the Granivere Secondary School. And also, I work with the SLHTA as the social media consultant. In the first series of the Millennial Voices, we feature a young man, Kennedy Joseph, who speaks about his career growing up in the community of Otsa, and also he is now the private chef for the French ambassador. So he will share his story with St. Lucia, how he grew up and how he was able to stay focused and become what he always wanted to become in society.
I grew up with the guys on the block, so I grew up with the guys. So I pretty much had same interaction with them on a daily basis. So as always, as I said earlier, my sister is the one who really kept me grounded and, remember you don't have a mother, remember I'm the only one doing for you, remember I'm the only one trying. So it continuously had me thinking that, I need to keep my head on my shoulder. I need to keep my head on my shoulder, and this is what I did. I tried my very best, I'm growing up, to make sure that I don't just follow the crowd. I don't like being a follower. So I always tried, as always, if you're not a follower, you must be a leader. So I always try to be the one to be leading. And that is just, some of the challenges that I growing up in Otsa. Apart from that, Otsa is a very wonderful community. I played football growing up, so I used to always be on the field with the guys. Used to always be on the first one on the field, sometimes last one leaving. So I had a lot of interaction with the young men in my community, and I still have a lot of interaction with older folks in my community, young and older folks in my community. So, yeah.
Cool. Sometimes when you're raised within a community where there are a lot of boys and stuff like that, you have friends. You always encounter little problems growing up. I know I did. You understand? Yeah. I was always bullied on, because I was one of the more quiet ones, and it was really hard for me growing up. I had to try and find a way to, keep to myself sometimes and stay away from trouble, or to avoid trouble or avoid fights, So I don't know, how has that been for you personally? Because, you're a leader. Not many people like when people are different, trying to do something better for themselves. So
Yes.
how has it been for you,
From very young, I never got to the point where I was person's attempt to bully me, because from very young I've always been a big person, big guy, tall guy. So a lot of the guys that I grew up with never even thought, I guess, of bullying me, trying to bully me.
So, moving forward into you graduating from school, secondary school, and getting into the world of work. Right now, you're the personal chef for the French ambassador. This is actually a huge, accomplishment.
Yes.
People will see you and feel like, boy, you were a college boy, you had a silver spoon.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and how you started into the industry and becoming a chef, or was that always your passion? What's that about? Yeah.
Silver spoon. I sometimes say that I did not even have a spoon. Yeah, that's how I see it. I did not even have a spoon myself. As always, when you will understand, being raised by my sister, with 3 younger siblings, she having to take care of 4 of us, it was challenging. I know financially it was a burden on her. At the time, almost say 20 years ago, her job didn't pay that much, and she made it happen with what she had. Persons normally see you as, you have the silver spoon or everything going well for you. I didn't. I had my fair share of challenges growing up. from school days into being an adult. When I left school, my sister said to me, hey, you need to learn a trade. You need to learn a trade. And this was a time where a lot of, or the country itself was moving into, the whole having a trade is important. And that's what it was ringing in your ears as a young man. So my sister said to me, you need to learn a trade. And there was this gentleman from my church at the time who was an electrician. And he was one of those who really helped my sister with us, and I guess it came naturally that I moved into that field where I became an electrician. I became a certified electrician. I did this for a while. I did electrical works with him, electrical house wiring with him for a very long time, a few years. And I knew deep down inside that this was not really what I wanted to do. At the time, it felt all right. It felt okay. It felt okay, I'm making money. But deep down inside, I was not at peace with myself. In my family, I'm always seen as the greedy one. I love food. I don't believe it was necessarily cooking or anything to do with the preparing of food, but it was just me loving to eat. I just love food. I used to get excited when I saw food in front of me to eat. And as I said, I used to be seen as a greedy one. And to my amazement, this greediness got me a little more curious to what I was eating. This curiosity developed into, a greater, I wanted to be more aware of what was being done in the kitchen, this awareness. And I see it as from my curiosity into being more aware and into a passion. And this just developed. After a while, I decided, hey, guess what? I'm not going to be stifling myself any longer. I left the electrical field, electrical works, and I went back to school. I went to Millennial College. I did a diploma in food and beverage management. After Millennial College, I also did a certificate in culinary arts and food preparation.
So you just said you went to Monroe College, right?
Yes.
And you said earlier you didn't have a spoon, right?
Yes.
So people see you and think that you had a silver spoon,
Yes.
and now you said you went to Monroe College.
Yes.
How did you get to Monroe College? Because everybody knows that to get a degree from Monroe or any university, you need to have some sort of money
Yes.
or access to finances.
Yes.
How did you come about that, and how did you get to it?
Well, basically, I remember when I got accepted, my sister saying to me that, how are we going to finance? Because I sent in my application, and when I got accepted, she was like, how are we going to finance? What are you going to do? At the time I went to, government was doing some financing of loan or backing up loans for you to go to school tomorrow at the time to those who wanted to study hospitality and fill in the hospitality industry. And I applied for this and I got through this as well. So I was able to secure a loan from the St. Lucia Development Bank at the time to a sum of $10,000, and which aided me going to Monroe College. I went to Monroe. I completed Monroe, graduated, and after Monroe, I went on training at a hotel in the hotel Smuggler's Cove. And after training, the training was not always easy. I remember you having to do some sort of maybe 300 hours of training, and I remember having to work some double shifts just so I would complete my training quicker than the other kids or the other young people who came there on training as well. So I remember having to work from maybe 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the night, just so that I would complete my training. I wanted to complete my training quicker because it always dawned upon me that I have $10,000 to pay.
Yeah.
I have $10,000 to pay, so I need to get a job. My sister tried. My sister, my brother, those who, the older ones, my older siblings, while I was on training, while I went to school, to give me those little, $20 to help me with bus and to help me with food and to help me leave home with my food and all those things. And this really helped me. I remember when I completed my training at Smugglers Cove, it was, fulfilling to me that, to hear the manager say to me, they're going to keep me. They're willing to offer me a job. They offered me a job. I went into, at the time, they had no position or no vacancies in the kitchen. And they said to me, well, they have some vacancies in the restaurant. I said, well, I'll take it because I have a loan to pay. Right. I took it. I went into the restaurant business, not knowing much about it, and I blossomed. I blossomed into in the restaurant business. Several persons, managers who really took me under their wings in the restaurant business. Just for me to mention one, persons like Selma from Smugglers and Donna from Smugglers, who really, and Gavin, Rodney, who really took me in, in under their wings and really mold me in the restaurant. While in the restaurant, like always, I knew that the restaurant was not what I really wanted to do. I enjoyed working in the restaurant. I enjoyed serving guests. I enjoyed meeting persons, but I knew that this is not what I really wanted to do. And I would say to young people, I would say to persons out there that follow your heart. Yeah. Always follow your heart. Always know what you want as a young person. I used to trouble the chef every day. Hey chef, when is the next available position? Yeah. Chef, what's happening? When can I come in? When can I come and do some training? Do you want to see what I can do? Do you want to see what I have? And he used to, Kennedy, when something comes up, I'm going to check you. I'm going to check you. I'm going to remember you. Until they said to me, Kennedy, bring in your criteria. What do you have? Okay. So I brought in my certificates, my diplomas, my reference letters and stuff to them, and they said to me, hey, can you start next week?
In decades, we have sent our kids to school. They graduate and they come out of school, and yet still more than 50% of them are left unemployed. What is the government doing about it? What are our leaders doing about it? How can we as a nation become more productive to ensure that there are more job opportunities available for our young people?
So right now you're a chef, yes? But I also know that you're involved in community work and so on. Tell us more about what you're involved in and tell us why. I mean, because everybody's dream is to come out of school, to start to make money, live the best life and so on. Why do you see the need to give back? Why do you see the need to go into the communities and do more for the community?
So, as I said earlier, I growing up in Otsa, I played a lot of football. I played football for the club in the community at the time, and I realized the amount of talent that we had in the community when it comes to football and when it comes to sports. So I always saw myself, okay, I want more out of Otsa. I want to see at least a young man from Otsa play on the national team. I want more from Otsa. I got a little more involved in the club aspects in my community. At the time, I was a public relation officer, PRO, for the club at the time in my community, that's Links Youth and Sports Club. I was heavily involved in that club from the very beginning. I became the first vice president of that club at a point in time. I then moved into, other aspects when it comes to football in my community. I became, the president of the football club in my community. I was heavily involved in the coaching aspect of the footballers, both the seniors and the juniors in my community. I still wanted more to give more back to my community, because as always, I see myself as a young man growing up in Otsa and moving away from the typical what Otsa is seen, or the picture that is painted for Otsa by other folks out there. I wanted persons to see that there is more in Otsa, there is more than just, saying that a bunch of young men on the block. I honestly believe that, my community has way more to offer than just a bunch of young men on the block. And I continuously wanted to devote more time to my community and give more time to my community. From being part of a club in my community, I showed interest in this on the district level. I became, in 2016-17, I became the public relation officer for the South Castries Youth and Sports Council. After serving as a PRO for some time, I then was voted on as the first vice president of the South Castries Youth and Sports Council. Now, South Castries Youth and Sports Council is actually the youth organization or arm that is responsible for youth work within two political districts, which is Castries South and Castries Southeast. So we are responsible for a wide scope of young people in the Castries South and Castries Southeast basin. And I'm directly responsible for sports and sporting development in those areas. And this is what I really love. I love giving back. I'm also the assistant treasurer on the Castries Southeast District Disaster Preparedness Committee. I am also a youth leader at my church, an AY leader, Adventist youth leader at my church. And this is what I really love. I love seeing the young people explore their potential more. I love seeing the young people showcasing the talents and the abilities. I love seeing young people give, or achieve something. I say to a lot of the young men that I come across that, you have your mother and your father with you. There are so many persons, who are looking out after you and looking out for you. So want more for yourself, want more for yourself. I remember I've given a lot of time, to groups in my community and finance, my personal finance. When it comes to the club, the football team at the time, I pumped a lot of my money, my own personal money in the club when it comes to getting the guys gears and refreshment for the day and making sure my team is registered and all those things. So me giving back to my community is just by saying that I know there is more in my community, and I just want persons to see what is in my community or what is in the community of Otsa. Forget about what has been painted about Otsa. Forget about what persons may say about the community, but there is more in Otsa.
We're going to take a break now, and then we'll come back with some more conversations. Millennial Voices really gives us as young people the opportunity to really share with St. Lucia the issues that we face on a daily basis. For many decades, we have sent our kids to school. They graduate,
and they come out of school, and yet still more than 50% of them are left unemployed. This show also gives young persons like myself the opportunity to really show other solutions, the real struggles that we face on a daily basis. There's no room for sugarcoating, the real issues, the real facts. Millennial Voices gives us a chance to tell our story.
What I really admire about you, generally, is the fact that despite you having a really demanding job, you really find time to give back to the community, just like me, you know. I grew up in Tomaso, Denry, you know, so not many people know that about me. I consider myself a country boy, although I've left the valley and I've been living in Castries now, but I'm still country boy, you know, at heart, you know. And I also decided to give back to my community, not Tomaso exactly, but to the Grenivier Secondary School with my Big Brother program, because I felt like our young boys and our men in St. Lucia have been neglected for so long, and for this community, for this island to thrive, you know, for our economy to thrive and so on, I feel like our young men need to be at a place where they can give back, they can contribute to society, you know. And all we hear right now in the media, in the news, you know, when you read the papers, the headlines is usually something negative, you know, crime, violence, you know. And when we look at our families, our homes, is usually our young men living, abandoning, you know, their kids, their wives or girlfriends, you know. And we really need to find some way to really inspire positivity in our men, you know. And everything I try to do it in a positive life, because I want persons to see me as a role model and not just another man who they think had a silver spoon growing up. That's not me. People tend to prejudge or judge you based on how you look currently, yes, but don't understand the story that you had growing up, you know. So can you tell or can you share with persons how it's, because I can, but maybe you can as well, can you share with persons what it's like being raised in a community like Odsa, where you see when you pass or you drive through Odsa, you find persons sitting down on the block, maybe smoking a cigarette or having a drink, and maybe you've probably limed with them for a little bit growing up. What's it like just sitting down there and wondering, you know, you see persons passing in beautiful cars and so on, persons with nice jobs. Do you understand what they're going through? Can you share that type of experience with people?
Yes, as I said, you know, growing up in Otsa, I always saw, you know, the young men that I grew up with as, you know, some of them as my very good friends, and I still treat them today like my very good friends. I remember growing up in Otsa, when I was attending Monroe at the time, one of those young men said to me, you're not tired of going to school? And it really rang in my head that, you know, maybe they don't understand the importance, the real importance of having more than just maybe a secondary school education, or maybe they don't see the need to want more for themselves. And I know there are a lot of young men in Otsa that genuinely want more for themselves, that genuinely want better, but they do not, or they're not seeing themselves taking that leap. For me, nothing happened to me by chance. Nothing happened to me by chance. I believe that God had his hand from the very beginning in molding me to become who I am today. And persons like my sister, of course, let me just say, persons like Martha, my sister, who really took care of me and not just fed me and make sure I had a roof over my head or something to eat, but she played the mother role from a very young age to me. And persons from my church, you know, continuously gave me that strength that I needed, you know, to want more, or those who assisted me even when I didn't have. I think sometimes the biggest struggle in the community for young men is not everyone has persons who are able to do that. You know, what you have in some of the communities are parents who work 24/7. Parents who work as always in the hotel industry, in the construction industry, fathers who find themselves working for such long hours and not having time, insecurities, companies and those, and not having time for the kids, for the young men. Mothers, young mothers, young mothers, in essence, children raising children. And you have a lot of that in, of course, this, you have this in my community, and you have this in so many other communities around St. Lucia, where you have young people raising young children. And that sense of drive to give to that young person, that child, is not present. And some, who try, some parents who try, some parents who do, at a very young age, the young men allowed influence around them to settle down on them, and or prevents them from achieving what they really wanted to do. I had the influence all around me, Wendell. I had it all around me, but I didn't have a chance for me to allow that influence to sidetrack me from what I really wanted. I didn't have the chance. There was always something to do. Every weekend, I was at church. I was doing something. I was involved in the community. I had things to do at home. My sister didn't just allow me to just roam the streets. And I'm saying this to say that, my sister and the family that I grew up in was not perfect, or is not perfect. But we need more persons, grown folks, adults in the community, to look out for our young people in our community, be able to motivate, be able to influence our young people, be able to give them some sort of guidance. The young people in the community, they don't just need, the finance or whatever to push them forward, but some of them need the guidance. Some of them are not sure what they want to do in life. Some of them are not sure what role, what field that they want to enter in, and they've left secondary school many years ago. So we need you more persons to have this positive role model influence and the young people in the community, and the young men in the communities, like my community, need to want more for themselves. I wanted more for myself. I knew that not having a mother, life would have been 10 times harder. I knew not having the golden spoon or the silver spoon, life would have been 10 times harder. So what I did as a young man from a very tender age, I worked hard so that life would not have been 10 times harder, or life would have been a little more easier for me.
That's brilliant. I really love the way we ended this conversation. Really trying to encourage persons within the community to play your role as leaders within the community, not just minding your own business and let everybody else do what they want. We all have a part to play in raising a child or raising children within the community. That's how it used to be back in the days, and I think that's what's lacking now. Hence the reason why we see so many issues being raised in society right now. So I really want to thank you, Kennelly. So I guess I can call you Chef Kennelly.
Yes.
For your time,
Yes.
and allowing us to use the facilities or the home of the French ambassador. I think you're at a great place in your life right now, and I think there's so much more that you can do in terms of yourself, giving back to the community. And I really want to wish you all the best,
Yes,
and
thank you very
continue to give her that positive energy, that positive vibes. I'm sure that one person at least will be able to be inspired by your words
Yes,
and your
thank you
story.
very much. Thank you very much for having me.